Martell's Esper Stoneblade. You find a deck that's good, you stick to it, you master it, you learn it, and then you can do what Andrew does, who has lost in the finals of an Invitational. They're in Somerset, so pretty good finish there. He is no stranger to top 8 in these opens with Charles Bug. Last time we saw him, he was defeated by Ruben Bresler's Blood Moons.
Oh dear.
He was Blood Mooned out of the game, because as you know, Charles Bug has no basic
basics.
lands. Unless he has learned from that mistake.
No, why would you?
Nope, we're still
do
doing
that?
no basic lands. So he's, again, shields are down, if you will, to get the Star Trek reference here. If he happens to see a Blood Moon on the other side of the board, his lights out again, but Andrew's not scared.
So I apologize. This is actually David Gleicher, who we are familiar with on the Open Series. Just his name was a little faded out on the deck list we were given. Playing against Andrew Tenjum, both of these guys with plenty of success in Opens.
Yep, they're both 2-0, so he just popped on the screen there. So we are already off to a pretty good start here. So Cabal Therapy out of the gates from David. The best thing about Cabal Therapy in the main deck is that Legacy is a pretty set format. There's lots of decks you can play, but there's no super fringy decks out there. You're going to play, you see someone play a Deathray Shaman with an Underground Sea turn 1, you know it's Bug. You see someone play a Delver with a Tropical Island turn 1, you know it's one of the 2 types of Delver decks. So Rug Delver, more likely than not. So you know the decks that are playing against, so you can actually, the therapies aren't fully blind, if you will. Not too bad. I don't know if he hit or not, we don't know what he named. I'm assuming he missed. He named Charles Agent? Okay. So Charles Agent was named.
He knew what he was up against either from the cards played or from the player himself.
Yep. Yeah, and I have had that before. I was playing against Masachi, who Cabal Therapy me in a Grand Prix, and he named Absorb, and I was playing blue-white, Control, and Extended, and he hit 2 Absorbs.
Gotta mix it up every once in a while, Shaheen.
I should, yeah.
If you play some mountains, people won't know what's going on. They'll be very confused.
I'll be in the 0-2 bracket, so it won't matter too much. So
these gentlemen in the 2-0 bracket joining the action in round number 3 of the Legacy Open here in Milwaukee. There are 250 players, so thank you once again for everyone in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and of course neighboring Illinois for coming out. We do understand you have a choice when it comes to Magic the Gathering tournaments, especially this weekend. You know, more states championship action going on.
Next
So,
standard with the box.
Baleful Strix. I was a big fan of this card.
The Robot Owl showing up.
It was one of those cards that when it was released, I was like, man, I wish this card was standard legal.
This is one of the most confusing cards of all time. It's artifact creature bird. It's a Robot Owl. What is that even, Shane?
It's a mechanical owl. It's cool.
Okay.
It draws a card. That's all I care about.
You know, that was probably the most disappointing thing in Clash of the Titans. The new version, they didn't have the mechanical owl from the original. Oh, and there's the Veteran Explorer. This is the key engine for this type of deck that David's playing.
Yeah, because it doesn't exactly give you infinite mana, but it gives you a couple fresh lands.
Let's pull this up on the screen here. Veteran Explorer.
It's basically a nice little Kadama's Reach.
When it dies, it says each player gets 2 basic lands from their library and puts them into play untapped. Andrew Tenjum has no basic lands.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be a one-sided explosive vegetation, untapped though. And there you go, David sacrifices the Veteran Explorer to flashback Cabal Therapy, gets his 2 basic lands. We'll see what he named. A lot of cards have changed in Andrew Tenjum's hand.
Is that a Bloodbraid Elf? That's a Bloodbraid Elf. I was like, that's not in the right deck. So Andrew Tenjum is playing Bug, splashing red for 2 Bloodbraid Elf. You know why we actually didn't see that? We assume he's playing the same thing he's always played. He's playing 2 Bloodbraid Elf in his deck.
A little extra spice. You know, actually, I noticed on his deck list he had 2 copies of Badlands, and I was going to look through and try to figure out what those were there for, but there you go.
That is
Bloodbraid.
That is awesome.
So Shardless Bug going even one step further on the Cascade chain.
It's a much better Cascader as well, too, because you can cascade into
a Shardless
Agent and then cascade into whatever you want, Central Vision, whatnot. So The only weapon against Charlotte's blood.
Oh wow! And he just put that Bloodbraid Elf back on top of his library with the Volrath Stronghold.
Yeah, that's a beating. Yeah, the big weapon against Andrew Tenjum's deck, if you're trying to play a control deck out there, is Notion Thief, because the cards that beat you are the Brainstorms and Ancestral Visions. So something to consider if you're trying to build a deck against this bug deck. So David, he's actually very fringish in his deck here. He's got lots of one-ofs, and we see a few in his hand right there. And we're seeing what? I'm trying to see the middle card. Is that an artifact? I can't even see that.
He's got 2 lands, Brainstorm, Phantasmal Image, and a Birthing Pod.
Alright, so we're going to brainstorm here right off the bat. Like,
Land
he doesn't have anything that just, in his, most decks that have Birthing Pod usually have a way to win automatically. I'm looking through his list, and there's no auto win, it's just all value. It's like an Acidic Slime, a Bone Shredder, a Grave Titan. So he doesn't have any actual just kill you cards. A Wood Elves, a Shriek Maw, Murderous Red Cap. He doesn't even have the combo with Murderous Red Cap, I don't think. Yeah, it's just so
no insta kill.
No insta kill. It's all value. It's all value town here.
Shop Smart, Shop Value Pod.
That's what it is. I don't think we indirectly just advertise for anyone, do we? It's good.
No, I just made up a name.
Oh.
If you want to go out and start a store called Value Pod, I have no
Pod.
idea what you would even sell there.
Oh, I know what you'd sell. You sell like bean sprouts.
Oh,
Like,
delicious.
Yeah.
Okay, Deathrite Shaman getting... Okay, so David activated his Deathrite Shaman targeting the Misty, and it looks like Andrew is firing back with his own to deny him the mana.
So you have a Deathrite Shaman battle, and a lot of times when you have Deathrite Shamans across the board here, the lands get dried up real quick, so it loses that mana advantage.
And Andrew has the advantage with 2 Deathrite Shamans. He can now kind of control the graveyard at will and deny David any of the resources.
And we know his top card too is Bloodbraid Elf, but does he have the red now? Because I don't see any lands in the graveyards. I don't think he has the red source of mana. He had
so
one.
David probably doing that to deny Andrew access to the red mana.
Yeah.
Off of the Deathrite Shaman.
Because now Andrew's next draw is a dead draw. Luckily, Andrew has the Maelstrom Pulse in his hand. So I hope David remembered, because he saw his hand with the therapy, so he knows that Birthing Pod is not long for this world here. And here we go. This used to be a nemesis for players in Standard. Very powerful card. Has a survival-esque type feeling, puts it directly into play. It was a powerhouse in Standard for a while. They used to chain with Acidic Slimes and Phantasmal Image and Phyrexian Metamorphs and continue on that path. And then in Modern, it was automatically thrown into the automatic win decks that use
Kiki Pod decks.
Kiki, Jiki, and Restoration Angel in ways to kill instantly with a bunch of mana guys. And that's still a big deck in Modern today. So you can't leave home without your...
Yeah, Birthing Pod has won the last 2 Modern GPs.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a powerful deck because the creatures are good by themselves too. Restore Angel and the 6-line is not exactly a joke anyway. Not 6-line, excuse me. Restore Angel and all the value creatures in there. So, all right, so you have Andrew here untapping with Deathrites, but no red. He's going to draw the Bloodbraid Elf. Now,
what just happened there with the Deathrite? Did he exile something?
Yeah, he exiled Brainstorm. So he's going to pulse away this Birthing Pod, of course. Can't leave that in play. And after he does this, he's just going to be waiting for a red mana source to use that Bloodbraid Elf. And it's a mistake on Andrew's part because he knew the Deathrite Shaman was on the other side of the board. He knew there's only 1 fetch land left. So putting that Bloodbraid on top was kind of like time walking yourself a little bit here, or at least removing your draw step.
All he needs is a land in the graveyard.
Yeah, you should definitely wait until you draw one or the other before putting it on top of your library, so you don't do it in the backwards order there.
Phantasmal Image, most likely copying the Robot Owl, just a cycle.
A small thing by David too. So he copies it, draws a card with it. He drew a fetch land, and he needs to be careful with that fetch land because if he uses it, then Andrew will be able to play that Bloodbraid Elf in his hand.
Yeah. Phantasmal Image, the cheapest clone ever, but it is vulnerable to any kind of targeted spell or ability.
So Andrew removes Maelstrom Pulse, shocking David again. Andrew draws a blue card for his Force Will, but he's going to use it immediately. Brainstorm's here.
Looking for a fetch land or just naturally drawing a red mana source?
And he does not have, but he does have the Ancestral Vision. There's still no way to use it.
Now he's cut himself off of blue mana. He had an Underground Sea.
He needs
No
to keep
lands
a
in the graveyard.
Yeah, he needs to keep a blue card in his hand definitely. So you need to put Bloodbraid Elf. I think he needs to hold the Ancestral Vision because I think that this dream is done now. He's Brainstorm locked himself. He's not going to be able to shuffle his library. So I think he needs to use Ancestral Vision as fodder for the Force of Will, and then actually keep the Baleful Strix because that's actually applicable right here. So I would put Baleful Strix back, and then Bloodbraid Elf, and then Baleful Strix on top. Keep Visions in hand so you can pitch it the Force of Will.
And just go with a Tarmogoyf, even though it's not going to be that big.
Yeah, at least that artifact will always be in there because there's
now
no way
you
to
got the robot owl. Birthing Pod is artifact. Creature 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so I don't like keeping the Baleful Strix in hand because I'd rather pitch to the Ancestral Vision because I think it's going to be worse in the long run. But it's not
Yeah,
a
the
huge...
Baleful Strix cycles immediately. The Ancestral Vision, by the time it would go off in this game, it may just be too late.
Yeah, and it's just more Air Force 2 to put pressure on David because David's at 10. I mean, he's been getting shocked to death by those Deathrite Shamans. So it's not like this game will last, 5 more turns for the Ancestral Vision to provide anything. And he can't even cascade because by the time he draws Bloodbraid Elf and then the Visions, he still doesn't have the red mana to do anything with.
Okay, David Gleicher with the most likely Singleton Shriek Maw. He's going to cast that. And you're thinking about...
I think you Force the Will. You definitely Force the Will here. That Tarmogoyf is your... But then, actually, no. I take that back completely. That Baleful Strix is going to prevent Tarmogoyf from ever getting through. I think maybe you let that through. It's not a huge mistake one way or the other, but it's not. The Tarmogoyf isn't going to do any real in-game impact right now.
Yeah, the Baleful Strix, in addition to just being a cantrip, it's got Death Touch.
Yeah.
He just sits there and waits to trade with a larger threat like Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, luckily for Andrew, that Force did put another instant in the yard, so he gets to do 2 more damage. So he has Brainstorm to do 2.
Oh, but David Gleicher fights back with his own to gain life.
I would have actually removed the Brainstorm to shock Andrew, because then it forces Andrew to go for removing his own creatures anyway, which is not exactly... It's just a small nuance there. Pretty much the same thing.
And David concerned with keeping his life total high, but you're saying just use it to deny Andrew the resource itself.
Because he's going to remove it during his main phase, shock you, put you back to 8. So the only difference is Andrew has 2 free life at the point, but then he can just remove the creature anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Okay, Andrew Tenjum is going to suspend Ancestral Visions, put 4 time counters on that. Every upkeep it will tick down, and once it's all spent, he'll get to cast Ancestral Recall.
Yep.
For free.
So David will never use that fetch land, ever, because he knows the top card of Andrew's library is Bloodbraid.
This is the last call to sign
we're
up
gonna
for the
shredder time.
Giant tournament.
Shriek Maw number 2 comes in.
So this is like a Cube Draft All-Stars here. Shriek Maw, Bone Shredder, finally takes out the Tarmogoyf.
And then we're going to get in for 1 damage here. Clock him. No, attack him. It's okay though.
Okay, so the Deathrite Shamans now have no choice but to exile creatures.
Who knows how much that 1 damage will impact the game, but you know that Andrew's not swinging with Deathrite Shamans because he can just double block and kill one. And he only loses his Echo to Bone Shredder. So you really got to, if you're David at a low life total like this, you really have to get in there with that 1 damage, that Baleful Strix.
Going for a little Deathrite fight at
That's
the
not
end
going to
of
work.
David's turn.
That's not going to work because he'll just do a response. Yeah, don't know.
So Andrew Tenjum uses his Deathrite to cancel out, to fizzle David's.
Yeah, that's not going to...
Andrew just gained 4 life there. David gained 0 off that exchange.
Yeah, you can't... Yeah, that's never going to work. You have to wait for Andrew to use both of his Deathrites. So we got to tighten it up a little bit. Remember not to miss. Damage and Legacy is hard to come by a lot of times. So, oh, what a draw!
Ooh.
That's a great draw.
So he pays the Echo on the Bone Shredder to keep it around. It's a 1/1.
So he's gonna go get Murderous Redcap, I believe.
Oh, yeah. If he gets a red cap, I can take out a Deathrite Shaman.
His other 4-mana spells include Glenelender Archmage is not as good in this point, I think. Yeah, I think you definitely get Murderous Red Cap, shock one of those, and then you get Thrag Tusk, and then you go get Grave Titan. So you pretty much are going to use this is Type 2 happening to him. So this is basically, it reminds me of the Type 2 decks. It's got the clone in there. Obviously it's got a bunch of Legacy All-Stars in here. It's got Deathrite, which is kind of like the bird of Standard, you know.
Is it a little surprising that he doesn't have a chain in here for an instant win combo?
Did he use a fetch land there?
He did. He sacrificed a Polluted Delta.
I do not like that. I guess he can just remove it during his turn, and then basically Andrew just gets he gets to take the mana away now. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really affect too much. It lets you take 2 less damage from your own birthing pod, so you don't have to pay Phyrexian to cast or use. So instead of 4, he's taking only 2 this way.
And it's also keeping Andrew from using the Deathrite to shock, although I believe, well, there's one Brainstorm in the graveyard.
Yeah. He's going to get him in for 1 damage here.
Shredder attacks, and then he's going to sacrifice it. He said to get Murderous Red Cap.
Yeah, you definitely get the red cap here. If your life is a little higher, you can get Glenelender to protect yourself from a dangerous spell. But right now, we need to get rid of those Deathrite Shamans. Oh, you don't use this fetch line here. Definitely not.
Because, he does.
Actually, yeah, you do. Because he's going to get the red cap, hit the one that's untapped, and then he won't be able to get that red mana. So David's doing it fine. The big dance here is to make sure that the red mana is not retrieved for Andrew. Oh, what does he have for 3 mana?
Does he have some kind of sweeper that can get both?
No, he's got Kitchen Finks.
Just getting a Finks to gain life?
Oh no, yeah, I definitely wouldn't do this. If you sack that Bone Shredder, you get Murderous Red Cap, hit the untapped Deathrite Shaman, and then
then Andrew would still untap
and
with
play
the
Bloodbraid
Deathrite
Elf.
Shaman.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, so I was right at the very beginning. You don't use the fetch lane here.
Just take the 2
just
damage.
Take the 2 damage. Yeah. It's not like Andrew's going to burn you out with a hasted dragon or something. You know.
And there are not enough instants and sorceries in the graveyard for Andrew Tenjum to continually use the Deathrite Shaman.
This could provide to be disastrous. If this Bloodbraid Elf results in like an Ancestral Vision, it can get Andrew right back in this game here.
Pretty much anything. I mean, what if it chains with a Shardless Agent into something else? So there you go. He's going to activate the Deathrite Shaman unopposed, gain a red mana, cast the Bloodbraid Elf that he locked himself out of being able to play earlier in the game. That was a critical point, but now David Gleicher has opened the door for him. We'll see what he hits off this Cascade here. Will it be more Cascade? I haven't seen chaining Cascade since the days of Enlisted Worm.
Yeah.
That was a big.
He actually drew. He drew an Ancestral Vision for turn. That's a beating. All right, so Bloodbraid Elf's coming in. Did he Cascade?
Did we miss it?
Did we miss something?
Oh,
he hit Deathrite. Yeah.
I thought that was the graveyard. Sorry.
We got carried away for a minute. That was a quick blow. Man, is that like some ninja hands or something? Did we miss that? Is that our eyesight going again?
No, I mean he just flipped it over and put it into play, and it was his graveyard is empty now. So when I looked, I scanned the board, and it seemed like that was the graveyard.
All right, cool.
I don't know what you missed.
I'm just out of it, I guess.
Maybe if you open your eyes, Shaheen.
Wow.
Stop trying to commentate by smell. Not going to work quite yet. We do not have scratch.
We did have a player that was sniffing, and he licked his card. He licked his card on camera for good luck. So, I mean,
we don't know if it was for good luck.
To each his own, you know. If you want to lick your cards, lick your cards. So David making some interesting plays here. Obviously, I would have gotten the Murderous Red Cap, and then shot the Deathrite Shaman. He's going to get it now here.
He's known about that Bloodbraid Elf for so long,
Yeah,
and it seemed like he was playing conservatively to deny Andrew Tenjum access to it.
Yeah, it seems like he was. All right, so
at this point,
there's Murderous Red Cap. So he's
does Red Cap do enough? Now there's 3 Deathrite Shamans.
Yeah, I mean,
at some point, Okay, he still has 2 turns, so next turn he can sacrifice the Kitchen Finks to get Glenelender Archmage,
Yeah,
defend himself from the Ancestral Visions.
The interesting thing about this deck is, I mean, he's obviously playing it for value, but normally once they get this Murderous Redcap out, you're pretty much dead. There's so many cards that can kill you, and it's interesting, like the old one that played like the green-white based pod deck from Modern before Kiki Jiki Fanciness had a few ways to do that as well.
Sure, one.
What's the
Malera
Silvok
Outcast
allows you to do
Murderous Redcap, and any sacrifice outlet is a 3-card loop.
I guess in Legacy, when you're doing 3 cards in a loop, it's just a few too many. So value's a little bit better, according to David here.
Yeah, and the other thing is, in Modern at least, Malera is randomly. There are still Infect decks.
Yeah, that's a funny thing to do. I remember having it limited as a Grizzly Bear, and when you play against the Infect draft deck, you're like, ha, gotcha.
Okay, so Bloodbraid Elf attacks here.
You just block with Murderous Redcap or Kitchen Finks, doesn't really matter.
Did not attack last turn.
I think you block with Redcap here because you're just going to pot it away for a Thragtusk anyway. If you want, just continue to build your board.
And you want to... Oh no, but...
That's
okay, well, he
too.
can still sack the Bone Shredder to go get his...
Either way, it's fine, yeah. It's pretty much the same result. Alright, so Andrew here. I'm not sure what he drew. I'm about to find out. So tap 3. And he's going to put it back on top of his library. And then play Polluted Delta. So he's ready to cascade again. So the Volrath Stronghold in his deck pretty much gives him an unlimited amount of cascade. And now with the fetch land, he's got the red mana. He's, you know, at any
just
point,
get a Badlands.
Just get a Badlands, yeah. So David here, obviously going to crash in with Murderous Redcap and Bone Shredder, get some more damage in. We've been missing a lot of damage here, like just points and damage that you can get in with your flyers and stuff. So we need to get that life total down. And he's going to pre-combat pot again.
Attacks a red cap, so getting the Thragtusk. Is there any other 5-drop?
And he can just remove it while it's on the stack. And now you don't get red cap back.
Right, so what's going on is the Undying, no, not Undying, Persist trigger going on the stack for the Murderous Redcap. Andrew Tenjum is exiling the Redcap with his Deathrite Shaman in response so that it does not return to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter. David does still get to search with the Birthing Pod, gets a 5 converted mana cost.
I think Andrew's confused about his opponent. It looks like he's playing standard with dual lands here. He's got Thragtusk in play and Deathrite Shaman and Birthing Pod, like a mismatch of different kinds of standard decks of old.
And if he's a modern player, he may also be confused that his opponent has activated Birthing Pod multiple times and not won yet.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Ancestral Visions goes off, gives Andrew 3 cards. David chose not to go for the Glenelender Archmage to
stop that, yeah.
To counter this spell.
Which is surprising. I mean, the Thragtusk is good, but like we said earlier, you really need to get that Archmage there. We saw the Visions sitting there, and you can stop it with an Archmage.
And we know that Andrew put the Bloodbraid Elf back on top of his library with Volrath Stronghold. Now he's going to sacrifice his fetch land and go get a Badlands.
Andrew actually doesn't have an answer to Grave Titan. So next turn, when Grave Titan comes out, he uses 1 Maelstrom Pulse, so he has absolutely no way to deal with it, minus a Tarmogoyf big enough to combat it. So
Baleful Strix can
yeah,
fade,
so yeah, if he's got a Baleful. How many Baleful Strix has he gone through? At least 2. I think he might.
Yeah, quite a few things have been exiled at this point. So
If
Cascade into a Brainstorm. Draw 3, put 2 back.
Possibly the best, one of the best blue cards of all time, right? Sweet card.
One of the cornerstones of Legacy Brainstorm is...
Yep. So he's going to put a couple fetch lands back here.
Every once in a while you hear about people talking about banning it.
No, get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a glue, but I don't think it's particularly... It helps all the decks, right?
Yeah, I don't think... It's definitely not a ban-worthy card. Not in Legacy. I mean, Legacy is where you have an Emrakul on turn 1 facing down, you want to ban Brainstorm. I just don't think priorities are right there. Leave it alone.
So another Deathrite fight, most likely over the Polluted Delta for mana, I'm assuming. So, no. What is that? A Misty Rainforest from David's? Yeah, so Andrew used a Deathrite, David responded with his, and Andrew used a second one to make mana for Shardless Agent, cascading into, there you go, Baleful Strix. So Grave Titan not looking so hot now.
No, definitely not. And let's take a look at his deck list. A card like Recurring Nightmare can get out of control. Because remember, Andrew doesn't really have a way besides that Creeping Tar Pit to kill David, besides shocking with Deathrite. So all of his guys are mostly ground. He can battle air on air. So if David draws a Recurring Nightmare, that's a lot of Grave Titan tokens coming out. A lot of persistent things happening. But he needs to deal with those 2 Deathrite Shamans, though, because those are a pretty big enemy of Recurring Nightmare, don't you think? So he needs to deal with those guys.
Yeah. So...
Oh, he has 2 copies of Pernicious Deed, so David has that out. Pernicious Deed would wipe Andrew's board.
I've got a concern for you here. The clock. We are about halfway through this round. Still deep into game number 1. I don't even know who has the advantage currently now, but these guys have to start thinking about, when they do finally lose the advantage, rather than grind out this game, just scooping it up and moving on to a second one, right?
Right. The problem is we just don't know who's ahead here. David, did he remember his Threat Test token? Yeah, he did.
No, those are Grave Titan zombies.
So
it's very possible that he did forget the 3/3 Beast is a triggered ability.
Gotta be careful. Just gotta remember these things. He's gonna sack this and then therapy him again to take that Bloodbraid Elf out of his hand.
How much does that accomplish against Volrath's Stronghold?
Not too much. It's not bad though. I think you still do it.
There's the Glenelender Archmage, so he drew it naturally.
Yeah. So David really needs a Pernicious Deed, and that will really wipe out the Deathrite Shamans, and then with the Deathrite Shamans gone, David can really get to town with his deck.
Well, if he just wipes out everything,
leaving 4
and attack
greater.
with a Grave Titan.
Yeah, that'll do it too.
Yeah, I guess he would want to keep his Birthing Pod, so let Andrew keep the Bloodbraid Elf. It's just going to chuck block the Grave Titan.
Judge Nita to the stage, please.
So they're discussing something. With all
It's
this time,
possible someone finally noticed the threat token.
Yeah. So we're gonna play probably Baleful Strix here. He actually he's gonna play Shardless Agent first.
I feel like Andrew has now really lost the momentum in this matchup.
Yeah, it's just tough because Tarmogoyf is big, but Grave Titan
Titan's
is bigger.
bigger.
Yeah, I think Goyf, there's no Planeswalkers. That's really what Andrew needs right now. He needs a Jace to start producing card advantage.
Okay, so we just got a report from the spotter next to the match that there was a brief discussion of the trigger. David, it seems, finally noticed, and Andrew said, I would like to not have that trigger happen. So no beast for David. And no warning anymore either, because it
happens too much.
Yeah.
There's too many triggers in this game. There's a lot of online Magic that spoil people. So
Okay,
back in my day,
Deathrite Shaman gonna shock / drain, whatever you want to call it. 2 damage or 2 life loss to David. David untaps. Oh god, he just drew the Recurring Nightmare, Shaheen.
oh, did he? All right. So once Deathrite Shaman is gone, he'll be able to just take full advantage of this card. He can do it right now though while he's tapped out. His Deathrite Shamans are tapped, so he can actually do the Recurring Nightmare shenanigans right now, and then can infinitely go, not infinitely, but he can, how many times can he cast it again? 1, 2, 3. So he can cast Recurring Nightmare 3 times. So that means he can get back, he can sack the Grave Titan, get back Thrag Tusk, sack the.
Players receiving.
He can do whatever he wants. He can
He's
get
got,
Bone
he's got
Shredder.
Phantasmal Image in his graveyard.
He can just get. There's a
Get
ton
that
of.
back.
Yeah.
Does not have the red cap, which was exiled by a Deathrite Shaman. That would be the perfect way to start.
God,
chipping
Andrew
away.
has no idea that Recurring Nightmares in David's deck, but who would? He's attacking, yes, so that's a great idea, because he's actually going to put it in the graveyard right away, so then if he does that, then boom, here comes...
Once Andrew sees this Recurring Nightmare, again, given the clock, it seems like it's time to concede.
Yeah,
Don't
the
you
thing
think?
is, Andrew does have 2 Deathrite, so he can stop the Recurring Nightmare from doing anything.
Yeah, but
after
this turn...
This turn's going to be it's
This
going to be a
turn is-
nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare this
It's
turn.
multiple times,
Well, he's going
recurring.
to have 3 nightmares this turn, at least. Oh, he's
3
like,
night-
what in the world is that? You want to read that card? There you go.
Do you play Cube?
Yeah, if you play Cube, you know what's going on here.
Okay, let's get 2 more Sam Blacks.
Yeah.
So sack 1 Sam Black to get back Grave Titan and 2 Sam Blacks. Sam Black, the top 8 competitor from Team Star City Games.
One of
at
these should
Pro
get
Tour
Thrag
Dublin.
Tusk here. He should definitely get Thrag Tusk one of
Yeah,
these.
gain some life back. Sure, why not? You could sacrifice the Thrag Tusk. Remember the
Trigger,
the
yeah.
Beast Trigger this time?
Get Phantasmal Image and then copy Grave Titan.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
The
So-
writing's on the wall. You said Andrew has no way to really
No, he has no interaction with this.
catch up here.
So he's
He
gonna-
can only trade 1 for 1 with most things. He's Maelstrom Pulse.
So here comes Phantasmal Image, probably copying Grave Titan. I wouldn't sacrifice token there. That Bone Shredder is pretty awful. But you know, we'll see if that damage comes into play here.
And maybe you want to sack the Bone Shredder. Well, he wants to keep it. He doesn't want to give Andrew the ability to exile the Bone Shredder.
Right.
That's the thing.
All right, so Vision's going to try to go off, and then David will, of course, meet it with a
Glenlander
Glenlander
Archmage
Archmage.
activation.
No, counter it. What are you doing?
Oh, wow.
All right, draw some cards.
I mean, we know, having the deck list, that most of Andrew's deck is blanks at this point.
And he also has, he counter Ancestral Recall. That's just something.
But don't give your opponent, because David doesn't know. He doesn't know that Andrew only has the single Maelstrom Pulse that was already cast.
Yeah.
So that has to be a concern. And
Oh, look at all this land. Yeah, if I was Andrew, I'd concede just so we can go to another game here.
you got to have
This
a
is-
shot
this
at
is-
trying to win game 2 quickly and then going to game 3.
Yeah. Or especially not getting to a point where game 2 goes to time 2, because then you're done. You'll lose 1-0. You know?
Yeah.
So Abrupt Decay comes in and kills literally something meaningless, like a Deathrite Shaman.
Kills the copy of Grave Titan. No, it's
Yeah,
you
it's still
can't.
6, yeah. He's going to kill the Deathrite.
Something under something. Deathrite Shaman.
So he's going to use Deathrite in response here.
So yesterday during the standard portion I said that I don't give up, but that's because I often play fast aggressive decks and I have plenty of time so I can play it out to death.
Yeah.
But in this case, it could take like another 5 minutes here for David Gleicher to win just through attacking and getting through all of these chump blockers.
Yeah.
And that's 5 minutes that Andrew Tenjum cannot really afford. He needs that time to try to win game 2.
Yeah, and just there's no cards that are really going to help the cause for Andrew here. I think he drew a Veteran Explorer. And David gets to spend a few minutes here thinking while doing his plays, and that's more time that's going to go by, because even though the attack seems simplistic,
I mean, yeah, he's got Recurring Nightmare in his hand. He is certainly...
I don't know how much damage this is, but it's a lot. And he's got Birthing Pod still, so he gets to use that again. I think he's not going to know about this. He's going to get those Deathrite Shamans to tap. And that's a problem, so David shouldn't be doing this. Andrew's just going to use the Deathrite Shaman response. He should be Birthing Podding to get more value on the board. Let's see, he can get
What does he even have left?
Baleful Strix, so he can get to draw some cards. He hit something great like a Pernicious Deed. He can go get more Deathrite Shaman, like another one. He has Eternal Witness he can still get. Ooh, that's a good one. Like once he gets those Deathrite Shamans to tap, then he can go get Witness to go get something back. And
He's got an acidic slime that can destroy the Baleful Strix.
yeah. That seems like a really good play as well.
Because that Strix is waiting, just waiting to trade with a Grave Titan.
Oh, so Andrew didn't use his Death Grind response. He actually let it happen. So he actually got
gets
back
the kitchen finks.
Yeah. And David, honestly, strategically can wait a few turns and just moderately attack and just keep draining time off that clock. Attack you with play very conservatively and then eventually win. And then you can have like 2-3 minutes left on your clock when you win.
David Gleicher,
As a judge, is there anything frowned upon about attacking with only a couple creatures here to give your opponent a slow and painful death?
It all has to do with his motivation, and I think his head is so far into the game state that he has no idea how much time is left.
That's a good question. This is kind of related too. I do want to know. Even like say you can never use the time strategically to your advantage, right? You can't say, well, I can attack for lethal now, but instead I'm going to attack with these 2 6/6s because my opponent's not conceding, and this will take 4 turns instead of 2 turns. Can you do that? That kind of mentality.
It's hard to get into specific situations. Like each situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like it comes down to the player's motivations,
right.
Why they are taking the actions or not taking the actions, and how long they are taking the actions, and why they are taking so much time with the actions.
I'm glad that doesn't apply to me because I play fast as can be. So
here I see no problem. David is making decisions. Doesn't seem like he's even aware of the clock. He's made an attack here that is a perfectly reasonable attack.
This type perplexes me a little bit. He's not attacking with tokens over there. He's not attacking with a Bone Shredder. He's got a lot of creatures he can attack with. He's no danger of dying on the return. There's just not enough. Andrew just doesn't have any kind of oomph to get through.
Well, the 2 tap tokens are probably the new ones, right? Did we get those tokens?
No, he didn't have any tokens this turn.
The Phantasmal Image is a copy of the Grave Titan.
That was last turn, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying, yeah. Well, I thought he had 5 tokens. Oh, he sacked 1 for the Recurring Nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well.
I'm just gonna grind away here, deal a bunch of damage with zombie tokens.
Hopefully he remembers Thragtusk this time. I don't think you remember Thragtusk. That's twice now.
It's 2 beasts.
Think how different this game would be. It would be definitely faster. You can't play cards if you don't use their abilities on them. You gotta remember that stuff. But then again, even with the miscues from David here and forgetting the beast,
he's got an overwhelming advantage.
He's just so far ahead that it just doesn't matter.
He sacrifices the Veteran Explorer to Birthing Pod, yeah?
Yep.
Gets the 2 lands from the trigger and then searches for a creature. Does he have anything left?
He has a bunch of Baleful Strikes, at least 2 of those left. Oh, and the Ooze. Yeah, the Ooze is going to be a monster here. So we're going to see this Tarmogoyf shrink down tremendously because the Ooze can just eat everything.
And it's already taken 5 damage from the Thragtusk. David only needs to get rid of 1 card type.
Yeah, hopefully he sees that play. That's a fantastic play if he does. Oh, hopefully
there was a lot of creatures on the board, but it sure looked like the Tarmogoyf blocked the
any points? Does he know that the Tarmogoyf is dead? He removed an artifact. There are other artifacts, so.
Yeah, I think like instant or sorcery should be the least.
I think he's going to go for all the artifacts. There's another Baleful Strix, and then there's 2 in his
He's got a
graveyard.
Birthing Pod too.
Yeah, so he can get all those, I think.
But by going for the artifacts, which are also creatures, he's gaining life and adding tokens, as opposed to going for instants and sorceries. So it looks like he's going the full 10 yards with all the artifacts.
Does he have enough mana? Does he have another green
Does he have
hiding?
green mana, yeah.
Yes, because there's one more. I think there's only 1 more artifact. And he does.
So his own Birthing Pod. And now we should be out of artifacts, and now your Tarmogoyf dies, he says. Yep. So he did see that interaction. They're going to count all the permanents to make sure, or the graveyards, excuse me, to double check.
Yeah, the writing is on the wall for this game. It's been on there for a while now. Just too much pressure.
When I first suggested that Andrew needs to concede this game, I think that was about 6 or 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was 18 minutes on the clock when you said it. Yep, 6-7 minutes ago. So it's I would have conceded the minute you saw
no answer
Nightmare.
to the Grave Titan Recurring Nightmare thing.
Yeah.
Like, you have Deathrite Shamans, but
too much.
you can't can't just keep grinding that way. Especially with this number of tokens, which is down 2 3/3 beasts that David has missed triggers for.
Yeah. And, you know, Andrew's drawn 6 cards off Ancestral Visions that could have both been countered by Glenn Alendra. So,
yeah.
I mean, this game, even though David's made some interesting choices, Andrew is still, even with all that advantage, has not been able to bounce back from this. And he can get in there with Creeping Tar Pit, but it's just
not going to do enough.
Not going to do enough.
David has access to so much life gain right now between the Thrag Tusk, Kitchen Finks, Scavenging Ooze, just all the choices.
Yeah.
And Andrew's not going to have enough resources to continually deny that.
So, you know, I think you just crash in here with Team. I mean, you don't really have anything that can kill your guys. The Grave Titan is monstrous. There's no death-touched creatures. He has to block with like 3 different guys, and even if he does, you have out a ton of damage. Yeah, he just sent everybody in. All the boys.
All the boys.
Send all the boys in.
Coming for the milkshake.
Because then you get 2 more blockers. You get Birthing Pod action afterwards. Send them all in, Andrew. Or David. Get them all. Get them. This is where I like to crash in the red zone when I'm playing a deck like this in cube. So I send
what is this? Turn 25?
Turn 25. You scoop them all and you turn them all sideways.
If this were Magic Online, you got to click on each one.
Yep.
It's kind of tedious.
I'll click on them all. So David's thinking and he's being careful, and he just needs to send them all in.
Okay.
There's no need to be careful.
Flyer. Tokens, which are just
there we
fodder.
Go. There we go.
Turn them all sideways.
There we go.
Everyone.
Trigger. He knows that Grave Titan trigger. He's got to work on that Thragtusk trigger.
Yeah, he does. Maybe he didn't play that card enough in Standard.
Yeah. I mean, I know I haven't. I played a lot of Grave Titan, though. A lot of Grave Titan.
So Andrew going to go for a triple block on Grave Titan. Looks like. Triple block on Grave Titan.
Alright, so the Grave Titan will be killed by those 3 creatures.
Deathrite Shamans,
are
those going to block anything?
Andrew takes about
Chump block, the
95 damage
Ooze.
from the rest of the creatures.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 14. Currently unblocked. So that was probably the Summoning Sick Deathrite Shaman that's chumping.
So if Andrew passes priority, then Deathrite's dead. So he doesn't get to use it. And he does.
Yeah. I think that's the one he cast this turn.
Okay, there you go. So he's got quite the army left, don't you think?
Well, that attack, I believe, did 14 damage.
I mean, that's 7. And then he still has just all these left. As you say in Magic, still have all these, right?
Very appropriate because the Sam Black tokens, Sam Black somewhat known for still had all these.
Yeah, still had all these. All right, so with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left,
so
David...
good 10, 11 minutes that Andrew burnt there.
Yeah. It's a strategy in Magic, and there's so many different aspects, and that's why the game's so complicated and popular at the same time, is that you have more than just the in-game application. You have outside of the game effects as well, like can you play 45, 50 minutes around control decks? That's stamina. You need a lot of stamina to do that, and it's tiring, and especially in a 10-round tournament. That's 1. 2, you play a control deck, you got to learn when to concede, especially when you're way behind, because after that long 40, 42-minute game that you just played, now you have 7 minutes, and you got to somehow aggro out your opponent who plays Bone Shredder and Shriek Maw and Veteran Explorer.
And Shardless Bug, not known for being able to aggro out. It does have a lot of creatures, but they're 1 power, 2 power. Tarmogoyf is the largest threat.
Yeah. And now they're going to take 2-3 minutes to board here. What's the legal amount of time for sideboarding? 3 minutes for shuffling and boarding?
It is no longer a set time limit. It is quote-unquote a reasonable amount of time, which 3 minutes is still a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, okay.
You just heard the announcement overhead from our head judge today, Sean Heath, from Madison, Wisconsin, a level 2. The time is over in the regulation round, but these guys have a few extra minutes for moving over to the camera matches.
I don't know what this
You're
card.
pointing to something.
I don't know what this card does. Sadistic Hypnotist.
That is the black 3 2/2. Sacrifice a creature. Target player discards 2 cards. From Odyssey.
All right.
I'm pretty sure you can only do it when you could cast a sorcery, like
So,
maybe discard effects.
I'm looking at the sideboard, seeing what he would bring in. A third Pernicious Deed, because again, you have 7. Now this is another.
You're talking about David's sideboard.
You definitely want to bring in the Pernicious Deed because the only way you can lose this match is if you die early. So you bring in that. He has Swan Song. He's not going to bring that in. We assume that that's going to have some play in Legacy here, not in this matchup. He has Golgari Charm, also not very good against this deck. He has Umezawa's Jite, though. That is a very good card against any deck with creatures, and especially creatures like Deathrise Shaman that die in one Jite hit. He has Thoughtseize, not a bad card against Bug as well. Hits those problem cards. And then he has Notion Thief, which I mentioned earlier, is the card that's good against Bug. If they
Singleton Notion Thief.
Go ahead, Ancestral Vision, I'll Notion Thief. I played against, in the last Invitational, someone from the Netherlands. There's a group of pros that was there for the Invitational, as well as the Grand Prix that was nearby.
Yeah.
And I played a Notion Thief after he activated Jace. He goes, I put 2 back? I'm like, yeah, you put 2 back. And I draw 3.
Okay, so our spotter has told us that these gentlemen have a few more minutes beyond what is shown on our clock, possibly. They've got the official time down there at the table, so
Right.
they'll let us know when we get to extra turns.
Even a few minutes is still not enough time there.
No.
10, 11 minutes, still not enough time.
So that sideboarding took, what, maybe about a minute and a half?
That was a quick sideboard.
Yeah.
So they were both
a reasonable amount of time.
both players definitely in
with
a
that.
hurry there. Cabal Therapy, naming probably the same thing, Shardless Bug, and he's going to
Shardless,
hit
yeah.
it. What a hit. Oh man, that hand is awful without that card.
And we see go
Devastating.
for the throat.
Devastating. You keep it, and a lot of times this happens in Legacy more than any other format, where you keep these hands of like Brainstorm, Fetch Land, one other card, and they go turn 1 Thoughtseize you and you lose because your hand banked on that card.
Yeah, Andrew was planning on using his fetch land and then
Oh,
activating
why didn't
the
he
Death
play?
Ray
He
Shaman.
could have played Baleful Strix there, Andrew. Yeah, he drew Baleful Strix and he could have removed the land from the graveyard. I guess he wants to get rid of that therapy, which is reasonable.
Well, if you... Okay, so he can respond to a creature spell
Right,
to
yes.
get rid of the therapy. See
That's
if,
reasonable as
see
well.
if David has anything.
Yeah, I like
going
that play.
on.
I like that play a lot better. Andrew knows what he's doing.
Especially a veteran explorer here,
There
so
we go.
now needs to respond to deny
definitely.
David the ability to sacrifice the veteran explorer.
Yep, I like this.
Yeah, good play there. And it gets the come into play tapped land, the Creeping Tar Pit down as well.
Ooh, yep. So we have a fetch land. It looks like David's holding Brainstorm and Pernicious Deed. So it's gonna be a
Now
tough road
gonna-
ahead for Andrew here.
Cast the Baleful Strix, cycle, Force of Will, no blue card. He's got some fetch lands, and go for the throat.
Yeah,
Would really love to have a Brainstorm here, wouldn't he?
Overthro's a fun card because it's one of the few black spells that actually kills Grave Titan there for cheap mana cost.
Doesn't kill Baleful Strix.
Does not kill Baleful
Owls
Strix.
do not have throats.
They don't have throats.
Robots don't have throats.
Oh, and he drew the spicy one. We have a Notion Thief on board.
Oh, but nothing to
Well,
no notions
Do you,
to thieve.
do you want to have a little friendly little wager here? We're not going to. Well, we're obviously not going to bet any money because that's illegal. What we are going to do, however, is just a gentleman's bet that Notion Thief is going to blow out Andrew this game.
This game.
I
I don't think there's enough time left.
I think so. I think it's going to be a Brainstorm, and we're going to have a Thief steal that Brainstorm. So we'll see, though. We'll see. Maybe my prediction and hoping are kind of melding into one.
Everyone hopes for it.
Yeah.
Everyone at home right now, if you want to see the Notion Thief play, hashtag SCGMKE.
Yeah.
Start the chant up on Twitter.
If you think Notion Thief is as big as a blowout as I do, you can also tweet at me as well.
I mean, of course it's a blowout.
I mean, it's almost, if you're playing blue and black, it has to be in your legacy deck now. I mean, I upped it to 2. And it's been great.
No, that's not allowed.
2
you
is
can
good.
only have 1.
Need to have
It
2.
is the mascot of Legacy. Notion Thief.
2
art by
all day, every day.
Clint Kearley.
All day, every day, 2 of them.
Okay, so meanwhile, David has loaded up the board with his Pernicious Deed. Andrew's going to attack with a Creeping Tar Pit and Baleful Strix. So he is trying to get this game done in a hurry. Creeping Tar Pit, actually not bad for that right here.
Yeah.
David, how can he interact with that? He needs to maybe find some life gain. Is that the best he can do?
Yeah, actually, thinking about it, yeah, David doesn't have any way to, looking through his deck, he has Jite. That's it. He has 2 Abrupt Decay, too. We didn't see any Abrupt Decay game 1, but he has it in the main deck. So Veteran Explorer bites the dust by activating Pernicious Deed. David gets out a couple basics here. So the Tar Pit, yeah, like you said, he pretty much is on the Abrupt Decay plan for that or bust. I don't see it in his hand. I do see a Brainstorm in his future right here, though. Might as well main phase that right now. And he will. And he draws the black land. Does he have the Abrupt Decay? Oh, Thragtusk. That's a pretty good answer, right? He should put the Thragtusk above that land. Did he put it above the land? I think he misordered that. Let's see. Oh, he has Baleful Strikes. Doesn't matter. Just kidding. So Thragtusk is going to come out the turn after this. And it's going to be Glorious.
Glorious.
Yeah, because, and I like what David did here. He hit it, 2 cards down because you don't want to have that in your hand when Andrew hymns you. And Andrew he has a plan. Oh, and he has the Force of Will for it too. So we actually know for a fact that Thragtusk is not going to resolve.
But Torak, Andrew needs to keep the pressure on with Creeping Tar Pit.
He does have Recurring Nightmare though, so what's going to happen is he's going to play Thragtusk here. It's not going to work. And then he's going to have Recurring Nightmare to come back. He could also play Archmage first, and that's what he's going to do. Glenolena Archmage, maybe. Yeah, that's the safe play. And if he counters this, David can then play Recurring Nightmare, sack the Baleful Strix, and then get back the Archmage. And that's what's going to happen. Make sure to attack for 1 first here. Come on, let's do our attacks. There we go.
For someone who doesn't attack very often, you sure are very...
I have Lingering Souls, my friend.
Okay.
My souls always attack. Alright, in comes Glenolender again. So Andrew's feeling pretty good. Like, he's on a 2-turn clock. He doesn't know that David has a Thragtusk. He's going to be very disappointed this turn when he sees it. And sees also the Recurring Nightmare. Therefore, David's almost on the infinite life plan here.
How much life?
Infinite life. Yep, and Andrew just can't do anything but shake his head.
Yeah. Plus 2 turns on that Creeping Tar Pit
And
clock.
he can just play the Recurring Nightmare here too if he wants to, but I wouldn't do it. I'd leave Glenolender open. You don't want to just deal with any
You don't want it to Shardless Agent, Cascade, and Ancestral Visions.
Yeah, there we go. He's decided, what's the point? Just wait next turn.
Okay, so
it was accurate. No, the time was accurate. Okay. The time says 2:10, so the time on screen is accurate. They're on turn 1 now. They're just messing with us, We got our stuff together. We know what's going on.
Does Andrew know what's going on? Can he figure out a way to snatch victory in game number 2 here?
I'm going to go with no, but then again, that's the pessimist in me talking.
Baleful Strix. Cantrip, go.
And David is going to just do fun things with, there's Abrupt Decay, just in case David wants to hit that land now. Well, he can't hit it. Abrupt Decay's, get him. That does not work.
I think he's just Recurring Nightmares here.
Yeah, he's Recurring Nightmares over and over.
Sacrifice the Thragtusk, get back Baleful Strix, or Veteran Explorer. Well, I don't want to, no, he can trade the Thragtusk, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. He's just, the Recurring Nightmare with the Thragtusk is good enough to make it happen.
So Andrew chooses to block the Glenolender Archmage. It persists. Returns as a 1/1. David is going to cast Recurring Nightmare. This is such a strange card. The cost of the ability is to sacrifice a creature and return the enchantment to your hand. Who thought of this card?
Someone sadistic. It's different. You know, the only when I first played against it, I thought it was an instant speed thing. So I had people doing it in response to me trying to kill their creatures. That's not fair.
So finally, David Gleicher remembers his 3/3 beast token. There you see Todd Anderson. And Andrew is just going to extend the hand here. He knows with the life gain from the Thrag Tusk, he does not have enough turns
not enough juice.
to win this
not
game.
Enough juice.
Could he have won if he had 10 more minutes?